Now, we are delighted that Steve Delaney joins us on the line now. He's, of course, an actor and comedian and stars as Count Arthur Strong. Now, he's bringing his musical, The Sound of Mucus, to the Leamington Spa Centre this Thursday on the 11th of May. First things first, Steve, how are you?
I'm very well this morning, thank you.
Thank you very much for coming on. Now, this tour, The Sound of Mucus, I mean, I can guess what musical it's based on, but where did the actual inspiration to do a musical come from?
Well, I mean, Arthur's always fancied himself as an all-rounder, and singing and musicals is something he's always thought he could do. We'll see whether or not he can. That's the general idea anyway.
And kind of the tour's going on until late June. When did it start?
It is. We started in February. We're well over halfway into it now. It was quite a long tour, 77 dates, but we're doing very well. We're all really enjoying it still, so... And we're getting great feedback too, so it's good. It's all good.
And it's Count Arthur alone in this tour, or is he bringing some special guests from the radio and TV series?
No, Dave Plimmer, who plays Eggy in the TV series, is giving us his Uncle Alan in the live show. And Terry Kilkelly, who plays Malcolm, old collaborator of mine. He plays Malcolm in the radio shows. He's in it too, playing Malcolm. And guest appearance of Reenie doing that too. So, there's three of us. It's always handy for Arthur to have another couple of characters to berate if anything goes wrong. Someone to blame. You definitely need someone to blame on tour.
Of course, you said the tour started in February, but Count Arthur's been on the stage quite a long time before that, because he was in the London Palladium this year in the pantomime. How was that for an experience?
Oh, that was good. It was great fun. It was very different to what I usually do. You know, usually I'm in my own bubble, touring around in my own shows and writing my own material and what have you. Yeah, it was very different. I mean, it had a real old variety feel to it. It felt like being on the bill of a variety show. I mean, there were some terrific people in it as well to work with. Paul Zerdin, the ventriloquist, Julian Clary, Paul O'Grady, Nigel Havers, they were a great bunch to be around. It was great fun. And, you know, I'd always thought that Arthur, of course, with his background, would have been in pantomime at some point. And I never have as a performer. So when the Palladium thing came up, it was I'd have been a fool not to. It was great. It was a great experience. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Hard work, though. Much harder than all this touring around the country. 2 shows a day, pretty much every day of the 5.5-week run. They work you.
Now, because you've obviously been heavily based on the radio and on the TV with the series, because you said it was quite demanding then, but how can you kind of explain that? Like, how much more demanding is it actually having to go on tour, actually doing a show sometimes twice a day?
Well, you know, I mean, the thing is, this year we haven't been doubling up at all. Previous tours we've done the odd matinee here and there, but this time we haven't. We've just gone for a longer single-date tour, you know, because we tour every year. Now we're tending to tour every 2 years. So it's one longer tour. We have a big blast to sit when we do. But, you know, for me, touring, I'd say, wasn't the most difficult of the three disciplines I'm lucky enough to be working in. I think the TV series is a harder ask. In terms of writing and refining writing and rehearsing and being meticulous, and so many other people involved. I mean, once the live show is up and running, then it's very much its own thing. We turn up in another theatre, set up, get on with the show. You know, we do the same show in each place. Obviously, it's slightly different here and there, but that's very much its own thing. So it's quite self-contained. And once it's up and running, the enjoyment is replicating it, and, you know, on a nightly basis. Television series was the harder discipline, really.
Is it true that Count Arthur started on the stage when you were at drama school?
Yeah, he did, and just did it as an exercise when I was at drama college in London, and put it together through a series of events. You know, quite a few years later, after I've been seeking work as an actor, and started doing it on the comedy circuit, putting together with a guy who was actually a tutor at drama college when I was there, Lyle Watson, who's now a TV writer. But we ran some character comedy nights together, and got a couple of other character comedians that he'd been working with. And then I just went on from there, really. And once I'd started doing that, the comedy, I actually packed acting in. I don't consider myself as an actor at all now. I only do Arthur, and I like to call myself a comedian, really. So I don't really ever do anything else as a performer now.
Going back to the TV series, I see that it's just been announced for a 3rd season.
Yep, it actually starts on the 19th of this month. We recorded it this time last year, so it's been in the can and edited for some time. I think we finished editing it last November, but they've been waiting for the right time slot for it, and we've got that now. So we're going out on Friday nights at 8:30 from the 19th.
Is that a similar theme to the previous 2 series?
Yep, the setup's the same. We're in the cafe. It's escapades of Arthur, the things that he drags other people into, and hopefully we've got some good ones as well, you know. Very happy with the series. So.
And is that you and Graham Linehan teaming up again for this third series as well?
That's right, yeah.
You've done radio, you've done TV, and now you've done stage. Out of those three, is there anything in particular that you prefer, or is it just having the ability to do all three?
I enjoyed doing all three. I mean, in terms of the radio show, I mean, I was kind of brought up on radio show through the 60s, Round the Horn and all those kind of things. And I love the craft of sitting there and writing a script. And the radio show, the writing is pretty much a solo endeavour, really. I have a great script editor, Graham Duff, who now co-produces the radio series as well, and he wrote Ideal with Johnny Vegas and what have you. But the writing is largely a solo endeavour, and I really like that. I like kind of applying myself to that and working to my own time scales and discipline with it. TV series is quite different, as I say, because I'm working with Graham for a start. Everything's a discussion, so it's very different to produce the first drafts of each script. It's very different, and there are so many other people involved further down the line. It was always my aim, actually, to be in a sitcom with Arthur. When I started doing him, I thought that's where I'd like to end up. That's where I'd like to end up doing. So that's brilliant. And who wouldn't want to be on BBC One on a Friday night? That's fabulous. But like I say, I'm just very fortunate that I can do all these three things. I'm thoroughly enjoying the live tour at the moment, and it's great to be out and doing that again, because 2 years is a long time. I don't perform much in a live sense between the tours. Television series is obviously recorded before a live audience, but that's just for one evening for each episode.
Now, the comedy associated with Count Arthur Strong is quite unique. It kind of debunks the trend that comedy seems to be moving in particular in the UK, and it still works so well. What do you make of the kind of general direction that comedy and sitcom is going at the moment?
Well, I don't really think of it in terms of it going in any particular direction, really. Things come along every now and again that surprise you, and if you analyse them, you can... I remember when Vic Reeves and Bob Mortimer burst onto the scene. I thought, this is extraordinary. I've never seen anything like this before. I thought it was fantastic. Vic Reeves' big night out on Channel 4 and what have you, and pretty much everything they've done ever since, I think, is brilliant. But if you look at it, what they're doing, it's variety. People called comedy alternative comedy. But if you had sort of analysed it, not that I analyse things too deeply, you could absolutely say it's just a rehash of variety. There's nothing amazingly unique that comes along in that sense, I think. Obviously, you get different slants on things. You get a lot of dark comedy from Jeremy Dyson and Reece Shearsmith, and that's very interesting, and that's slightly different. But again, the performances are quite caricatured. A lot of comedy has its roots in variety without even knowing about it. I unashamedly have my roots in variety, though. I kind of advertise it. It's the sort of stuff I was brought up on and the sort of stuff I like. And I suppose if ours differs slightly, it's just that it's a kind of placed today, so it has a new-old feel about it that occasionally sideswipes some people. They look at it and they think, well, this is so dated, and then suddenly there are a few modern-day references in there that throw them. And so, I find comedy interesting, but I'm not sure you can suddenly produce something that doesn't have its roots in something else. It's that original thought thing. The original thoughts are very hard to come by, really.
Just final few things. Is Count Arthur Strong actually based on anyone that you know?
Well, based on lots of bits of people I remember, lots of fragments of things I remember from being a kid, largely. Elderly relatives, and there were always people getting drunk and disgracing themselves, and all those things tended to stick in my mind. So he's based more on people than I've sort of based him on bits of comedy I've seen and what have you. I mean, what I was saying before is that comedy is slightly generic, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think within a genre, I think if people are trying to find ways of being different within a genre, then that's an interesting thing. But I think it largely all fits within a certain box, comedy.
Have you got any advice for anyone wanting to go into the kind of comedy acting sphere?
No.
Don't.
No, I wouldn't dream of giving advice to anyone. I mean, I haven't followed a path, you see, with it. I mean, I've done my own thing. When I first started doing Arthur, when I was seeking work as an actor, I spent most of the time working as a carpenter, because that's what I've been doing.
Oh, really?
Before I trained as an actor. I used to be a theatre carpenter. I used to build sets, and then I started doing bits of works and making kitchens for people and things like that. So I was able to kind of keep myself going financially while I was looking for work as an actor. And when I started doing the comedy, it was an ideal situation, really, for me, because it meant that I could bring Arthur on at my own pace while still being able to earn a living doing something else. So I brought him on slowly and surely, in increments, really, I always say. I'd hire a comedy venue for a week. I'd try out lots of new material for say 4 shows over a period of a week, and then I'd work a show in and take it to the Edinburgh Festival. I mean, I did Edinburgh at least half a dozen times before the radio series happened. And that was a proving ground for me. You're up there, you're doing 40 shows during the course of the festival, and you really learn a lot about what you're doing and how to do it properly. So that was a huge benefit to me, being able to earn my living in a different way. I did it that way, but if I said to someone, be a carpenter, a lot of people, they want a kind of an immediate answer. Well, you should do this, and you should do that, and you should do that. I didn't do it like that. I brought it on at my own pace, which would probably be far too slow for people these days. I think people are a lot more impatient about having a bit of success and getting on and doing things. But it's what developed Arthur for me and developed him in the right way. I think if it had happened quickly, he wouldn't be hopefully the flushed-out creation he.
And just finally, did you have any kind of comedy idols growing up that influenced this character, do you think, or just personally in terms of being a comedian?
Well, again, it's the genre I've placed Arthur in. I think it's because my notion with Arthur is that he got into the variety theatre just as it was breathing its last gasp in the late 50s. When all the theatres were closing and the good people from variety were transitioning into early television. So I placed him there because I have a great affection for that period, because I have a lot of memories of the 60s and all those shows that transitioned. So Morecambe and Wise, early Morecambe and Wise, all the Round the Horn stuff on the radio, Kenneth Williams, Julian and Sandy from Round the Horn, and that sort of thing, and going right through the 60s. It's the early sitcoms, Nearest and Dearest with Hilda Baker and Jimmy Jewell, things like that. That's where Arthur's placed. He's placed in, I didn't ask myself where I was going to place him. It was just obvious to me that when I came up with the notion of Arthur, that first idea, I kind of knew what he looked like, and I knew what his background would be without really thinking about it too much. So, I don't think that was an accident. I think that's just because all that sort of stuff meant something to me from my past and youth. And they're the things that tend to influence me. Now, you asked, is Arthur based on anyone? He's based on a lot of people from when I was a kid growing up, so it all goes back to the early 60s, I'm afraid.
Steve, thanks for joining me, and best of luck with the tour.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Count Arthur Strong, and you're listening to Raw.